Hey, Pie People over 12 here, and welcome to the 23rd Suburban Gooner podcast. We have the usual gang, Chris and Ben. Hi, Chris. Hi, Ben.
Hello, mate.
Howdy.
And we have Jeremy Lebor from 89th Minute. How are you doing, Jeremy?
Hi, guys. Yeah, doing good. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much for coming on. Were you there yesterday, Jeremy?
I was there in all its glory.
And Chris, I was there with you, so I know you were there. And Benjamin, You were there in spirit, watching on the TV, so you can give us some better angles, I'm sure.
Certainly, yes.
So, who wants to go first? Jeremy, talk to us about your feelings yesterday.
Where do we start? It was an early start, very early start. Decided to go by train, which we thought was probably going to be more beneficial.
Yeah.
And started off, when we came out of Wembley Park, we headed to the Green Man pub, which we got to about 1:15, 1:30, and it was fairly busy because they had the away boys who were meant to be playing there. In the corner of the garden, the beer garden, there was lots of people singing and shouting and screaming and singing how they hate Tottenham, which is always fun.
Yeah.
But by 4 o'clock, by the time we actually left to make our way towards the ground, which is obviously only across the road, there must have been 3,000 to 3,500 people there. It was absolutely heaving.
Wow.
Incredible atmosphere. And all Gooners as well, which was the best bit.
And,
it's quite funny, actually. We went to a pub in Kingsbury, and Steve, do you remember there was that that poor little gaggle of about 4 Wigan fans surrounded by an army of Arsenal fans, and it was just hilarious. These Wigan fans looking around thinking, just looking around thinking, did we go to the wrong pub? No, guys, you didn't go to the wrong pub. Unfortunately, you've turned up in London at a 90,000-seater stadium where 60,000 of them are Arsenal fans, so you're pretty Donald Ducked as it is.
Yeah, the pub we went to wasn't too bad, actually. It was kind of one stop past Wembley, which was good for coming back. And what was it, JJ Moons, was it, Chris?
Yeah, that's it.
JJ Moons. It wasn't a bad little pub, actually. Was it a Weatherspoons?
Certainly was.
Yeah, I think JJ
This isn't
Spoons.
It was amazing. We went to the bar in London, ordered 9 pints, and it was £20 something. I thought she got it wrong. I started getting my money out really quick. So, Ben, talk to us about the atmosphere on the TV. How did it come across?
Nervous and non-existent, really. You could only really hear the fans when it was sort of getting late on and sort of into the penalties. And obviously when Mertesacker got the goal, you could hear them. But you could feel the nervousness like just through the TV. I know that sounds ridiculous, but obviously Wigan got their penalty and it just went toxic. I don't know how. Be interested to hear what you guys say, but looking at the TV and obviously it was panning, showing people's faces and people just like, pardon my French, but they lost their shit. It's completely understandable considering what we've been through, and we should be putting that team to the sword and we didn't, but it seemed very aggressive. How was it to be there?
Well, we were in block 131 and 132, so it was quite, that was obviously where the redaction bit was, so it was quite, everyone was standing up and it was a bit more vocal. So I don't know whether or not we were shielded from some of that element, but it wasn't great when it went to 1-0 Wigan. And to be fair, I don't really remember Fabianski making that many saves. I think they only had, in the whole 120 minutes, they only had like 6 or 7 shots compared to our 27 attempts.
I don't even think it was that. I don't think it was that many. When the penalty, when he blew for the penalty, we were sitting upstairs in block 551, so we were slightly shy to the right of the halfway line, but by I don't know 10 feet or so. Yeah. And they showed it on. No, in fact they didn't show it on the screen, so we didn't actually really see it properly. We weren't sure it was a penalty or not, and people were shouting and screaming saying it was no penalty. But obviously, having seen it on TV again last night when I got in and again this morning, it clearly was.
Yeah.
I think actually, in fairness, he was quite lucky, Mertesacker, not to get a red card for it.
He could have.
I guess there was players around him, wasn't there? Though.
Yeah.
My knowledge of the rules are very blurry. Years and years of alcoholic consumption have blurred anything with any kind of statistical detail. So that's why whenever I write any kind of blog, I don't like doing detail because it hurts my head. So, atmosphere-wise, though, I always wonder whether it's a chicken and an egg situation. Is it that the players have to show us for the first 5 minutes that they're up for the game and then we feed off of that? Or do they feed off of us and our intensity and our noise and they then perform off the back of that? I don't know. Jeremy, Steve, what do you think? What was that noise?
That wasn't me this week.
I think the problem yesterday was, although it was a semi-final, I think so many people went into that game thinking, "Oh no, it's not going to happen. Oh no, it's not going to happen."
Yeah.
But I think it took people. I mean, it's quite a surreal experience. I mean, Wembley is different to any other stadium. It's not like the Emirates, or although the Emirates is it's big and there's 60,000 people, and Old Trafford the same. Wembley's different. It just seems to be bigger. I mean, I don't want to state the obvious, but but like properly bigger, and
the pitches are wider as well. The pitch is wider as well, isn't it? So,
and the seating's further away from the pitch because there's a track around the outside, so it just gives the impression of being so much bigger. And I think it took a while for the crowd to get warmed up. But if you from the halfway line, from the side where the players came out, where the managers were, all the way round to what would be the equivalent of, I suppose, our clock end, all the way round to almost, the whole of the other side, down to the bottom to where our North Bank would be, was Arsenal. It was all Arsenal. It was hard. I mean, the Wigan supporters were effectively in one corner. Plus, there was a big chunk at the bottom behind the goal where there was where seats weren't taken. So
yeah, that was a real shame to see, actually.
Yeah. I mean, obviously when Wigan scored, obviously the Wigan supporters went mad, and because there were so many Arsenal supporters at Wembley yesterday, it was quiet. But once the Arsenal players started singing, it was quite buzzy.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, I don't know. Isn't it interesting that we've gone whole 5-6 minutes into this podcast and we haven't actually spoken about the match itself yet? It's a little bit of a damning indictment on the, I guess, the performance up until we seemed to go a goal behind, and then all of a sudden there was the urgency there, and in extra time as well. I mean, we're at the post, we're at the bar. Good save from Carson to deny Gibbs, but in the first half, I remember a Sonogo header. I think he went through 1-on-1, didn't he, and just blasted it straight on Carson. But I don't really remember.
That Sonogo header was in about the first 5 minutes. And we can't call him Sonogo. You've got to call him Sonogos.
Good shout.
Ben, could you hear the booing on the TV when Podolski came off?
Yes. Yeah, and obviously it's different because I'm not there, and you can sometimes get caught up with the emotion of the whole thing. But to me, him coming off was sort of justified because he did completely nothing. But what is strange is that Arsenal in the last sort of few weeks has been labelled as sort of tactically inflexible, and we go and play a 4-4-2, and it's kind of ideal for Podolski. And it just
surely he was going to play 4-4-2. You take off Sonogo, bring on Giroud, and move Podolski next to him. It's
I
ideal.
think that's what the frustration was, because it's kind of, as we were saying about the Tim Stillman blog, Chris, where he's saying Podolski isn't a lone striker, he isn't a left winger. We go 4-4-2 and we take him off, and I think that's where the frustration came from. It's not nice to hear booing, obviously, in a semi-final, but it just seemed crazy.
But to be harsh on him, Steve, I know that you're a massive fan, but he did nothing. He left Monreal completely isolated for the entire game. Monreal isn't as dynamic as Gibbs. As soon as Gibbs comes on, he has the ability to carry the ball and look dangerous and make things happen, whereas Monreal isn't that sort of player. We saw Cazorla get shifted to the left and he started to improve. But every time Monreal was picking up the ball, Podolski would run off with his head down. And you know that at the end of the first half, where the ball gets played over to him, it was almost like a fluke because he ran, and I think Monreal was like, "Oh, I'm sick of this," and he just lobbed it over the top, and it fell to him, and it was where him and Podolski and Sonogo had that little bit of a mix-up. So I don't know.
Sorry, Ben. That's no different to the Everton game, is it?
No.
I mean, that's exactly what happened. I mean, you know, we're not talking about the Everton game. I understand that, but Martinez got it right because he decided to put Lukaku on the right hand side and expose that weakness, and that's the problem. I mean, I don't think that Monreal's a bad player. I just don't think he can defend. That's the problem.
For a left back.
For a left back, yeah.
That's kind of a primary attribute, isn't it?
Point. He's not. He's a left-sided midfield player. He's not really a left back. I don't really think that's his true position. I mean, that's a whole other conversation. But I mean, the problem is.
Go on.
No, but the problem is he was just left too exposed.
Yes, that's exactly it.
I think from my perspective, the Podolski situation, I don't know. He didn't do anything yesterday. He wasn't great, and you know he even. I mean, I'd love to know the amount of touches of the ball he got because I seem to recall like twice in the first half and then once in the second half him having anything more than 2 touches, and then that was it. He just sort of sauntered about on the left hand side. Having said that, Sonogo. I mean, it's what do you want out of your players? Do you want somebody that for 2 minutes is going to be deadly? 2 minutes out of 88 is going to be deadly, or for 88 minutes, he's going to run his heart out. But ultimately, when you put him in front of the goalkeeper or you give him a shot on goal, he's going to fluff his lines each time, which, you know, Sonogo might turn out to be an amazing footballer in a couple of years' time. He's patently not ready at the moment. It's quite obvious to see. So as a football club, where we're at the moment, we can't be blooding these players. That's what loan deals are doing. I mean, Chelsea are masters of loan deals. They've got about 78 players out on loan because they're trying to eventually one day get them good enough for their first team. But Sonogo is just a classic case for somebody who should be out on loan right now. But for our own ineptitude, we're having to rely on him. And I think from my perspective, yes, Podolski didn't do anything. But like you guys said, if you switch to a 4-4-2, maybe he gets a few more touches, or even maybe he's a bit more central and a ball comes out to the edge of the box and he's leathering it home. I don't know. Steve?
I see the problem with Podolski is, I mean, and whatever anyone, and there's plenty of people out there that love him or they hate him. I think ultimately he's a good player, and you can't be crap playing over 100 times for Germany. Whatever anybody says, I think he's playing out of position, and I think his true position is to play in a 4-4-2. I think he'd be deadly in that position. I really do. But he won't play in there. As for Sonogo, and I don't wish to be disrespectful to the lad, because I'm sure in time he probably will come good. And I think had he scored in the second minute, you would have seen a completely different player. Because he obviously plays on confidence. And once he scores his first goal, I'm sure, you know, we'll see a different type of player. But, I mean, all the jokes were going around yesterday. What's worse than Sonogo's first touch? His second touch.
Steve, defend your BFF.
I will defend him, and it's just I'm sitting here. I've still got my Arsenal shirt on, and he's on the back, obviously. But
this is Sonogo now, Jeremy, just for your reference, because obviously he's talking about Podolski, not Sonogo.
Yeah,
I love the idea that Steve's already got Sonogo on his shirt.
There must be someone out there. There must be someone with a Sonogo shirt.
The best thing about Sonogo yesterday, do you know what the best thing was about him?
What's that?
He made Giroud look good.
Yeah, he did look alright when he came on. He did. But yeah, I completely agree. 4-4-2. I'd love to see him, and it was such a shame that was the opportunity to see him as a off a target, off a big man, and Podolski there to hammer it home, as you say, Chris. So hopefully we'll get the opportunity at some point to see it again.
I mean, maybe forced into it by the number of bloody injuries that we got at the moment.
Yeah.
If you go back 10 years, the Invincibles, what formation did he play?
He played Thierry Henry plus 10 awesome players.
Okay. It was effectively,
yeah, no, you're right. 4-4-2. So it
was effectively 4-4-2. If you look at if you look at Real Madrid, you look at Liverpool, City to a certain extent, Barcelona, Atletico, even Chelsea, they all play with two. They all play with two players up front. Now, it might not necessarily be a standard 4-4-2, but they've always got two players up top, haven't they? I just don't understand why he won't do it.
Well,
all those teams rely on mobility, and the players that we've got at the moment that are fit just don't have that mobility. Cazorla's not a very mobile player. Podolski isn't very mobile. Giroud certainly isn't mobile. Sonogo seems to have a bit more power about him, but he can't finish for toffee. And then we've got the Ox, who just has come back from injury, and he was only rated as 50-50 yesterday, so he's the most mobile player. And we've got Ramsey, who has just come back from injury. So I think it's about mobility when you're playing the similar formations to what Chelsea do. Because Chelsea, for example, they played. Yeah, he was brilliant.
He did. But just to answer what you were talking about, we technically do play with two centre forwards, Giroud and Walcott. Just we don't have Walcott, and that's why we've suffered, as we've said already, that all of our players are like a massive jigsaw puzzle. You take one piece out of it, and it falls apart. You look at Liverpool's 4-4-2, and as Chris pointed out, it's all about mobility. They've got Suarez and Sturridge who turn up in different areas of the pitch, and then you've got Coutinho or Sterling at number 10 who have got that pace to go anywhere they want. So they're altering from like a 4-3-3 to a 4-4-2 within seconds, and it all depends when they have and when they don't have the ball. But our injuries have really, really made us suffer. And it's difficult because, as Steve said, it'd be ideal to see Podolski in a 4-4-2, but we don't really have that mobility in midfield to play 4-4-2. Arteta was all over the shop at the end because he was knackered and he was passing the ball. He was trying to keep hold of the ball, but it was getting so predictable that Wigan were letting him have the ball, and he was literally passing it to Sanya, and Sanya was sort of looking at him like, "I've just given it to you. Can't you go somewhere else with it?" But it was the nerves as well, I think.
Yeah, the Ox was dead by the end as well, wasn't he?
He had terrible cramp, I think, as well.
Yeah, he kept going down, didn't he? But ultimately, we've sort of navigated through this particular obstacle, and we can almost put the FA Cup to one side now and say that's happening at the end of the season. Thankfully, the FA have seen sense and changed it from the week before the last game of the season to it is now the end of the season. So it's a case of, it's right at the end of the season. It's a week after the season has finished. We've now got the Champions League to look forward to, and we'll have all of those players returning. So, I mean, what was your sort of general thoughts, Steve, on the fact that we've just done the job? But did you also watch the Hull game today? Did anyone watch the Hull?
I saw
Sheffield
the second
United game today.
Yeah, I saw.
I haven't watched any of it, so.
I don't have a TV because I moved recently. It comes on Tuesday, so I haven't even seen the highlights.
Yeah, I watched. I mean, the second half. I have to tell you that Sheffield United played quite well, but obviously the difference in class between the two teams was quite easy to tell by the end of it. But I have to tell you, Hull are quite. They're leaving space at the back. I mean, there's no doubt about it that a fit Arsenal team should have nothing to worry about against Hull in the cup final. Famous last words, assuming they show up. But I mean. I don't anticipate there being a problem. I mean, if you think by the end of the season, hopefully Ozil will be back. Wiltshire might be back. Koscielny's for sure going to be back. Yeah. You're going to have Flamini available. Dare I say, not wishing to box the situation, but even Mr. Diaby might be fit. How amazing would that be? Diaby to come on at Wembley and score the winner in the cup final.
Yeah, it would be amazing. He's got to stay fit that long though. He's training now, so for all we know, he's already injured.
He's been out so long though. It's going to take him 3 weeks before he's fit, so he'll be ready for the cup final by then anyway. So
that's excellent.
But yeah,
Hull City are without their front two though. They're without Jelavic and Long, so they've got to play Fryer and or Sagbo.
Their keeper's out as well, isn't he?
Is it?
Is it McGregor? McGregor, he's out for the rest of the season. So they're playing Harper, aren't they?
Yeah. We should be fine. Honestly, we'll have players back, and it's just if they turn up and don't do another first half like they did at the weekend because it was poor. You could just tell how nervous they were. That like none of them wanted the ball. Santi was just non-existent for the first half. He just hid in the middle of the park. He just hid.
But don't you find that? I mean, there's no question about it. He's a talented player, but don't you find in the big games Santi goes missing always?
Because he needs to affect the game higher up the pitch. And because he was so deep, he's ineffectual in the middle of the park because he can't actually take the ball past people and carry it into sort of areas.
Then let me ask you a question. Where do you think Ozil's best position is?
Ozil at number 10.
Yeah. Okay. Behind the striker.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you think Cazorla's best position is?
On the bench.
Okay.
No, I'm joking.
Behind Ozil.
Yeah, but personally, I'd say the same, isn't it? It's not number 10. I prefer him there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Cazorla's best position is probably in that same role.
Yeah.
You can't play both. You can't play both of them.
No.
Yeah.
It's because we haven't got the players that it's unfortunate, but they're too similar. I mean,
Square pegs, round holes. Square pegs, round holes. When Ozil's back, he'll shunt Cazorla out left, and there'll be no room for Podolski, and Steve will cry.
I'll cry. I've got a tear in my eye now just thinking about it.
Do you know what? They're just thinking about Hull. We've got the small matter of them next weekend, haven't we? After we've got West Ham, so it'll be an interesting dress rehearsal, albeit, and also it'll be even more important for us because we've got to win every single. I'm convinced we have to win every single game between now and the end of the season.
Totally agree with you. Totally agree.
And I'm scared about Tuesday night, if I'm completely honest with you.
Why?
Because we have got our squad is decimated with injuries, and they've just played 120 minutes. And Arsene Wenger will probably just put out a similar team if players aren't injured. Like there's supposedly Ramsey limped off, and the Ox looks absolutely shattered, so he can't rotate. And West Ham have had 10 days off, and
their season's over.
Yeah,
and he's going to play. I mean, surely he's going to play Flamley, isn't he?
Is he back yet? Is he still suspended?
No, Flamley's suspended on Tuesday.
We'll play Kallstrom, Arteta.
Is he suspended for 2 games, Flamley?
Yeah, because he got 700 yellow cards.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course. Well, he's got to play Kallstrom because I mean, I have to tell you, he looks a big lump.
He does, doesn't he? Looks tiny.
Quite a useful player. Apparently, he's got amazing left foot on him, and apparently he can take a free kick. I mean, just going back to yesterday, that free kick, the free kick. There was a free kick in the. I can't remember. Ben, was it the second half or was it the second half of extra time? I can't remember, but we had a free kick.
Second half of extra time.
Right, we had a free kick. So who's lining up to take the free kick? You've got Arteta, who was sort of like standing there but didn't do anything. You've then got Cazorla, and I'm not sure who else it was. It was on the right-hand side of the pitch, so ideal for a left-footed player. Why didn't he let Vermaelen take the free kick? I remember 2 seasons ago, Vermaelen used to take the free kicks from that position when Van Persie wasn't in the team.
That was when he pulled the wall over our eyes.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
Sorry, Steve. I'm really upset, you know.
Because we had one early on when Podolski went close, didn't we? He went close from a free kick. Well, it seemed close from where I was. I don't know what.
No, actually, sorry to upset you again. That wasn't close. That's not even me being horrible. That wasn't even close.
It's interesting your point about jigsaws, actually, Ben, because it goes back to the Monreal Gibbs situation. Because I agree with you, Jeremy. Monreal isn't a bad player, and actually in other teams and other setups, so, I'm sure he'd work fine. He's a Spanish international, but they're such different players that it changes the game, doesn't it? When Gibbs came on, we're moving forward quicker. We look a bit better attacking wise, and it's interesting that we would do that. You'd think that if you've got a left back that's working quite well, that you'd get somebody similar to come in as backup.
Well, but the best Monreal's played this season, if you look at it, is when he's played as at left back, and in front of him has been Cazorla. The reason why he's moved Cazorla out of there is because Cazorla doesn't track back. But when Monreal and Cazorla played with each other at Malaga, that's exactly how they played.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's been some games isn't there where he kind of, I think it was Norwich, was it, where he went round about 2 or 3 players, Monreal, and went into the box, didn't he?
Yeah, he's not. He's not a bad. He's definitely not a bad player. I just think that I think his best position is in front of Gibbs. That's where I think his best position is. But who do you drop to put him in that position?
Yeah.
Well, that's what Wenger was doing earlier in the season, bringing him on as a sub, wasn't he? He was bringing him on just to sort of shore it up a little bit because he tracks back a bit more.
Yeah,
it might be worth a consideration, particularly with how we've been found out so much against the bigger teams, assuming they were both fit, playing both Gibbs and Monreal to shore up that sort of being overrun either on that left-hand side, because that's where we've just lost out. In the big games, we've lost out a lot, haven't we? But so Tuesday night,
I'm not sure Monreal will be back for the. I think he's out for the rest of the season. Personally,
yeah, he's done now. So now we rely on Gibbs being fit.
We've got to work out what that was first. If it was just an embarrassment injury, because from the TV it looked like it looked like a dead leg, but then they were talking about that was sort of the ankle that he landed on, that he was actually put him out. So that's probably what it was. But I think he initially went down because he got embarrassed by the winger.
Probably.
Was it McManaman, was it?
Yeah, McManaman jumped, and then Monreal isn't goal side, and I think
I couldn't understand why they took him off. I was really happy when he came off.
Yeah, that was a proper bad decision by Bosler. He was really causing us trouble. Obviously, wasn't doing too much, but he was really pinning us back, and that was probably why we were getting. Gibbs was had so much joy because he didn't have to worry about anyone defensively.
Yeah. Right, so before we move on to Tuesday, we've all sounded really moany, but we're in FA Cup final.
Yay! Oh, quick question, and maybe we can put this out to any bugger that actually listens to us. I wonder what the situation is, and I don't know if you guys know, with season tickets and whether they put everyone into a ballot or whether they go away travel points, because I've heard lots of different scenarios on Twitter today, whether or not the tickets will be made available to season ticket holders with X number of travel points, then that number of travel points, then that number of points, and then it goes to.
That's exactly how they did it for the semi-finals, isn't it? That's exactly how they did it.
3+.
They'll do the same.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So interesting. How do you feel about that, Steve? Going to a ballot?
I obviously, from my point of view, as you know, it would be better for me if everybody went in, but I would agree that people with away points should get priority, although that kind of counts me out because I think obviously they've been to more games than anyone else. But yeah, for me, I hope I get one.
I mean,
the only encouraging thing from all of this is that Hull are through to the final,
yes.
and I think they only took about 12,000 tickets. I think today, didn't they?
Really?
Yeah, apparently so. They were saying that on the TV before. I don't know whether it's true or not, but they were saying they only took like a 12,000 allocation. So
how does the final work? Is there some sort of like corporate thing involved where they get a hell of a lot of tickets and stuff like
Apparently, it's 2 lots of 27,500. I heard the rumours, and then the rest goes to corporates, which is quite ridiculous, really, because that means.
No, I think it goes every club in the football league get tickets, and then affiliate clubs below that get tickets, and then affiliate clubs below them get tickets, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Ridiculous, but probably you could actually be a whole podcast in itself, couldn't it? So
it is mad. So before we finish up, then Tuesday, what would be your team, Jeremy?
My team, assuming they're fit, I would go Szczesny, Sanya, Mertesacker, Koscielny, Gibbs. If he's fit, Ramsey and Kallstrom. I think I would probably have to go with the Ox if he's fit, Rosicky if he's fit. You'll probably find none of these players are fit. I would play Cazorla in the middle, Rosicky on the left, Ox on the right, and unfortunately no other choice but to play Giroud up top.
How about you, Ben?
I want Ramsey on the bench just because he's been out for such a long time. He's just gone and played like 120 minutes. It'll probably be Kallstrom and Arteta. You'll see Rosicky. I don't know about Chamberlain. He looked dead on his feet, didn't he? And it probably wouldn't be wise to play him, but we haven't really got anyone else. So it's all sort of all hands to the pump time. So I guess he'll be playing as well. Cazorla and Giroud, yeah.
Chris?
Well, I would say exactly identical team that Jeremy said, and it's just really if the Ox is absolutely dead on his feet, then if Rosicki's coming back, then play the Rosicky on the right. Maybe Podolski on the left. I don't know, but that would be the only change. Otherwise, I'd say exactly the same as what Jeremy said. So.
Is Gnabry available?
No, apparently, he's not back until the 19th because he's got a knee injury. That's what PhysioRoom.com said. So 19th would be against Hull, which becomes an absolutely massive game because if we manage to navigate through West Ham and manage to do you know what? Even if we scabbed a 1-0 win, I'll be over the moon on Tuesday because that's just 3 points. We're now into just get 3-point territory. Yeah. And going away to Hull, they'll be massively up for it because they'll know they'll have us in an FA Cup game. You know, they'll have Long and Jelavic, who are their first choice strikers. I reckon it'll be a really, really tough game. I reckon all of the rest of the games, you know, Newcastle at home, West Brom at home, and then we've got Norwich away on the final game of the season.
Brom, because West Brom can go 3-0 up like they do with every other team, or we can come back to 3-3.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this whole game at the weekend is almost as worrying as the game against West Ham. Because if you think about it, Steve, we played Wigan last year just after they'd won the FA Cup final, and that was for them to stay in the division, and they looked shattered after 60 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm worried that the same situation is going to happen to us. We're going to look shattered after 60 minutes, and then a team with a big clobbermeister like Andy Carroll is going to end up beating us. That's scary.
Yeah, I mean, is it looking like Koscielny will be fit then?
Well, they said that they thought Koscielny would be back. I mean, I have to tell you, I think Koscielny and Mertesacker together, they just have an understanding that Mertesacker doesn't have with anybody else. And I'm not being disrespectful to Vermaelen because he's obviously a quality player. I just don't think he's got the same relationship with Mertesacker that Koscielny's got.
Yeah, as a pairing, they're just so strong, aren't they? Together,
I mean, if you go back to last week against Everton, I don't think that it would have been. I mean, that people disagree with me. I think that 3-0 defeat to Everton actually flattered Everton because I don't think we were that bad. But I think if Koscielny had been fit, I think certainly 2 of the goals wouldn't have happened.
Agree.
But if he is back, I think it's good just to get some players in because obviously 120 minutes, even if we can just get a couple of players in. I agree with you, Ben. If we can, I think we need to bench Ramsey. It's just tough because we need to win every game.
We need to win every game, but he's been out for such a long time, and this is our problem. This is what happened to Wilshere, where he was played and played and played, and then it's that vicious circle. And I just think have him on the bench and bring him on with sort of the usual 20 minutes to go if things are going bad. But you can't if he gets injured now, we're in big trouble. Because like you said, every game now is a cup final, isn't it? To chuck in a horrible cliche. But it is. We need to, like Chris said, we need to scab every 3 points to the end of the season. So you can't really start risking players. I think you've got Kallstrom, who's fit, who's just scored a penalty in the FA Cup semi-final. He'll be buzzing to play.
Yeah, I want to see him play, actually.
So if you Arteta in there, just to make sure, because we don't know how defensively stable he is, because he might just run around like a headless chicken, which would be good and get the crowd going, because they love a bit of Roy of the Rovers, but we do need a bit of discipline in there, so fingers crossed.
Well, here's a curveball for you. I don't know if you know much about him. This kid Akpom, play him up front. He's a beast. He's a handful.
They're saying a lot about him. They're saying he's sort of technically better than Sonogo, but not physically anywhere near him. So it'd be, I don't know who would be better, because Akpom has scored a lot of goals this year, and I watched the the Chelsea game, the Youth Cup game, and he was very impressive in that. But it's a different level, so you've got to play Giroud.
Yeah, well, I mean, having said that, the Youth Cup is on Thursday, isn't it? Thursday night, so he probably won't play him. They'll probably play him in that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go back to the whole Giroud argument, I have to tell you, despite what anyone says, I actually don't think he's world class, but I don't think he's a bad player. The problem is he just doesn't have the supply. No Ozil, no Walcott, and he misses them. You can see it.
Yeah, I think we said this before. He's not world class, but also at the same time, it's not his fault. He's our only option.
I mean, if you go back to September of last year, because I think he's gone downhill since Christmas. If you go back to September last year against Tottenham at home, he was immense. He was the best I've seen Giroud play. He was just on a completely different planet. No one could come close to him. No one could touch him. He was brilliant. So I don't know whether this off-field stuff's had caused a problem for him, but I don't know.
Well, it must
either that, or maybe he knows he's going at the end of the season. Who knows?
Ooh,
Who knows?
Conspiracies.
We have no strikers.
We'll have no strikers. Sell all the strikers. But to upset people, Higuain scored a hat-trick tonight.
Yeah,
why would you even say that? Why would you even
then?
say that? You might as well have just poured TCP on an open wound, then showered it with some table salt and spat.
Yeah, but surely you must accept that even if you look at La Liga and the Bundesliga, Serie A is nowhere near the Premier League. I mean, the Premier League is without question the best league in the world. Surely you must agree.
Oh yeah,
It is until Liverpool win it, and then that's it. I give up and go home because I can't. What I saw today, what I didn't see today, the result that I saw. Oh, there's just too many Southern Scousers that are just going to appear. That's just going to make. I'm just give up. That's it. I'm done.
Okay, so here's a question. Here's a question for you guys. Arsenal are not going to win the Premier League this year. We know that, not this season. So if you're given a choice of Chelsea, Man City, or Liverpool, who do you want to win it?
Man City.
Man City.
City. Jeremy, you?
I actually think I'd like to see Liverpool win it only because I hate City so much. But
Boo! Blackbeard bags.
I don't know. I think based on the if you look at the form on the last 10 games, I think Liverpool probably do deserve to win it.
Just on pure football alone, and what Brendan Rodgers has done to their team is just it's marvellous, isn't it? And the way he sort of changes formation throughout the game, and how he has several players to play in sort of that number 10. How he, depending on how quick the centre backs are, depending on the speed of the person that he puts in at number 10. So it's been very impressive. For that alone, I'd like them to win. But as Chris said, it's Liverpool, isn't it?
I couldn't hack it.
I mean, people say, "Oh well, Chelsea are a London team. You should want Chelsea to win." I just can't stand the arrogance of Mourinho.
No
Who are these people?
Who are they?
Who are these people?
Well, just to make you very jealous, I've just been brought in a nice cup of tea and a plate of chocolate biscuits, and I'd willingly share them with you, but I'm afraid you're there and I'm here. So
no, you wouldn't. Right, guys. Before we close off, then what we do now, Jeremy, is just ask anyone if they've got any final remarks before we close the pod. Anything from you, Jeremy?
Anything from me? Yes. I want the Arsenal board and whoever's in charge to go and spend £150 million in the summer and buy some decent players. I just think every Gooner, whatever you think of, whether you're an Arsenal in or an Arsenal out, he's not going to go between now and the end of the season. So just get behind the team and let's just hope we can win the FA Cup and by hook or by crook and relying on results elsewhere, finish fourth. Yep. Because as much as I don't think it's the club will continue, I think not qualifying for the Champions League, I think it will have a psychological effect on the club, but who knows?
Yeah, I think it will, and I think also if you're going to go and spend £150 million, you'd probably be able to attract a different type of player. if you are in the Champions League. I know we're a big club and we can still attract players, but we're going to go and spend some serious money, which hopefully we will. You need that Champions League football to get the top ones.
Mm.
Oh.
Anything from you, Chris?
Hashtag Wenger on the fence.
Oh. God.
What about you, Ben?
Oh, how can I top that? Yeah, we've gone deep tonight on our final thoughts. Yeah, I think we needed to spend 120 million last year because I think that was where we needed to go. But this year we've got to spend even more. I'm leaning towards Wenger, so I've got some splinters where I'm slightly on the fence, but I would prefer he stayed. I would just like him to have some more help. Whether he will accept that help, that's a completely different debate. But I'd much rather have him at the club than not.
Okay. Yeah, I think.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Who would you go if money was no object? Who would you go and buy? I mean, forget Ronaldo, forget Lionel Messi, but being realistic, who would you go and buy in the summer?
Ooh. Go on, Steve.
I think we definitely need a striker, without a doubt. Someone like
Balotelli.
Balotelli. I would take Balotelli. I mean, he obviously comes with some issues, but he's still young. He's done it in the Premier League. He could do it. If we could get someone like Cavani, if not, even look at Jackson Martinez. But I prefer one of the bigger names, and then definitely a centre midfield player. So hopefully we'll go back in for Lars Bender or someone like that.
Mm.
And then I don't know, maybe even left wing.
Draxler.
Draxler, yeah, he could do that. Ben?
Wow, that's a big question. Definitely, I've been banging on about someone in midfield all season. I think just at purely numbers and stats, Schneiderlin from Southampton's a very good shout. I don't know if he's good enough to make the next step up, but he's looking very good at Southampton. If not, possibly someone like Lars Bender, but he plays more forward for Leverkusen, and I'm not sure if that's because Leverkusen aren't that great and it's the best player syndrome, so they kind of make him do everything. So maybe with better players he might improve, but definitely someone in midfield and a centre forward and someone on the left, because we're so weak. But that's not even incorporating if anyone leaves.
Yeah,
but,
we need a goalie, aren't we?
Well, a goalie, maybe if Sanya goes, a centre back.
Yeah.
If your mate goes for Marlon, so it's definitely the minimum's 4, isn't it? And you can't be ridiculous and start talking about sort of 6 and 7s because you look what happened to Tottenham.
And a goalkeeper.
Yeah,
well, goalkeeper,
that's the worry, is that we need stuff, but actually we might need to replace quite a few. So
it's going to be very big summer.
Anything you want to add to that, Chris?
Romelu Lukaku. That's it.
Oh, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Oh, you like him? Oh.
How about you, Jeremy?
I can't see Chelsea selling Arsenal Lukaku.
No, I don't think so either.
No,
but
I don't think that'll happen. I mean, it would be good. I just don't see it will happen, though.
No. So the one player for you then, Jeremy, who would it be?
The one player, if I could choose any player, I think it would have to be Cavani up front.
Ooh.
good shout.
That'd be good. That would be good. Okay. So before we close off, I'm just going to go back on a point you made earlier, Chris. Chris, you said that Chelsea have players out on loans. They can blood them into the first team later. When has that ever happened at Chelsea?
Could argue Matic.
Yeah.
One last question. Sorry, I'm interrupting here. I'm going against protocol.
Go on then. Last one before we close off.
If in the summer, if Chelsea sell Fernando Torres, would you take him at Arsenal?
No.
Yes.
Okay.
He's proper pony. Did you see that? There's sorry to keep going. There's a Colin Murray on TalkSport went through some stats to basically confirm that he's never been good at all.
Really?
Yeah. It just basically went through all these stats of conversion rates and pass completion and basically confirmed that he's never been good. It's all been a figment of our imagination.
I have to agree with you. Just for the record, I don't think he'd be any good at Arsenal either. But I was asked the question. I was just curious what you thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Not at all.
I would.
Would you really?
Yeah, because I'm sick like that.
You are. You're a glutton for punishment.
Just because he plays up front.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, cheers, guys. Thank you very much for coming on, Jeremy.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I say one last thing? Sorry,
Of course you can.
You won't be able to shut me up. Just want to thank you guys very much for having me on. Really appreciate it. And for those of you who don't know, our website, 89th Minute, we've got lots of good things going on, and we have Adrian Clark, the ex-gunner that writes for us. But this week we've got something new starting. We're very fortunate. We've managed to get John Cross Mirror to join us.
Oh wow!
So John will be doing a hopefully bi-weekly or monthly column for us. So don't forget to watch out for it. Obviously, there'll be news on Twitter about it, but thought that'd be quite interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, and Suburban Gooners out.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.